Warning: Armstrong Industries may contain adult and disturbing material. We strongly advise that it may not be suitable for young listeners. Thank you. A bloke in his late 20s ran to the Keel Row shopping centre in Blyth at night. It was closed down, so he found a window that was left open. He climbed inside. While he was confused why the window was left open, he was happy that he was in. So he grabs a phone and filmed himself inside a dark, closed down shopping centre, but he heard a clattering coming from a room, so he walked slowly to the door. As he went closer and closer, he opened the door, and all he can see is a room with a small machine. Suddenly, a silver hand grabbed him, and he screamed. Next day, in Starbucks, Callie sat at the table with her boyfriend, Ricky, sipping latte. Callie couldn't stay because she's got to go to work, so Ricky understands. After Callie finished sipping her latte, she ran outside of the Starbucks building. She got into the black van with Lee, Norville, Nadia and Oscar. The van drives off. Callie asks, "What's happening?" Then Lee said, "Some dickhead snuck into that shopping centre and never came home. It's been closed down for the last 6 months." So the black van parked outside of the shopping centre with the police do not cross line tape around, and PC Gary Tucker standing outside and said, "I made sure no one came in because it could be anything inside there. His friends had to tell me that he was sneaking in this shopping centre last night and haven't heard from him since." Lee replied, "We'll take it from here." So Gary said, "Well, I'm out of a job again." So he walked away. Nadia looked at the computer screen in the van, typing on the keyboard. So Lee said, "Callie, Norville and Oscar, yous get inside and see what yous can find. Me and Nadia will stay here and look from the outside. We're accessing to CCTV." So the doors were lifted open. Callie, Norville and Oscar grabbed handguns, then walked slowly inside an empty shopping centre. Callie feels like she's getting the shivers. Everyone is feeling uneasy. Lee said on the comm, "Yous will be fine. The job is to find out what's going on, so the shop will be safe enough for redevelopment." Callie, Oscar and Norville has found a room where it's making a clattering noise. Oscar says, "We're going inside." So the door burst open and they see a machine. And Norville says, "That looks kinda familiar." Meanwhile, outside, Nadia and Lee are sitting in the van looking at the computer screen, having accessing to CCTV. Nadia said, "There's something you need to see, Lee. Someone has been wiping the footage out, but whoever did this thinks we would miss that." There was a small glimpse of a silver man. So Lee said, "Can you sharpen it? Because I need to see. I hope it's not what I think it is." As Nadia sharpens the picture, and Lee made a horrified face, and then quickly goes on to the comm, "Guys, I need you to get out of here, now." Oscar replied, "We haven't found anything yet." Then Lee replied, "There's a Cyberman in the shop with yous. Get the fuck out of here, now." Suddenly, Cyberman stomped right in front of Norville, Oscar and Callie. So Norville said, "Oh shit, no, not again." And Oscar said, "Code red, Cyberman alert." Lee tells Nadia to keep everyone out and to keep the Cyberman in. So he quickly grabs a machine gun, got out the car and ran inside the shopping centre. So the Cyberman said, "You will be like us." Then Lee entered holding a machine gun and shouted, "Turn around and face me now! Go, now!" So Callie, Norville and Oscar ran off, and they ran inside the conversion room and barricaded the door. Callie said, "We can't just leave Lee there." Norville replied, "He's giving us time to destroy that conversion unit." So the trio turned around and found that bloke from last night, dead on the floor, covered in blood and mutilated with bits of Cyberman armour. Callie was choking back sickness and said, "How can I still be a Doctor Who fan after seeing this?" Norville said, "Just acknowledge that it's not real in our world." Meanwhile, Lee asked the Cyberman, "So how come you're here, damaged? After when the rest of yous was sucked into Gateway, you should be back in your world." So the Cyberman replied, "I held on. After when the Cyber Army were gone, leaving me behind, I snuck into the van. I knew your base was too dangerous. I learned that place was closing. It was perfect place to start upgrading." Then Lee asked, "So how come there's still only one of you like?" Then Cyberman replied, "The machine wasn't strong enough to upgrade. The male who broke in last night, his upgrade failed. Once the conversion unit is fully working, I can start the upgrade successfully." Then Lee replied, "Aye, right, that's not gonna happen." So Lee raised his gun, but Cyberman electrocuted his hand, which knocked the gun out of Lee's hand, and Lee screams with shock, so he runs around the corridor and shouts, "Nadia, Cyberman has disarmed me, I need you to..." Cyberman thumps Lee into the head and he's knocked out. Callie inched open the door to see what was going on. Then Cyberman looked, and then Callie said, "Shit! We got a Cyberman coming." Norville types the buttons, and there's few sparks on the conversion unit. As soon as the Cyberman came in, the trio managed to run past the Cyberman and out into the corridor. They found unconscious Lee. Oscar shook Lee and shouted, "Wake up!" to Lee, while a Cyberman was marching closer and closer towards them. Lee woke up just in time and shouted, "Fuck! Let's get out of here!" Everyone ran up the corridor and made it to the door. So everyone got into the black van. They saw a Cyberman marching out of the shop. Then Lee said, "We can't let Cyberman free. If they capture humans before we know it, it'll be Cyberman apocalypse." So Oscar passed Lee a bazooka and said, "There's no sign of Gateway, so we're gonna have to blow up that Cyberman before it's too late." Then Lee said, "But it'll hurt the history." Then Oscar says, "Only one won't hurt. You got to stop that Cyberman now, before it's too late." As the Cyberman walked back into his shop, Lee grabbed a bazooka. He got out of the van and walked back inside the shop and shouted, "Oi!" So the Cyberman turned around and Lee fired a bazooka, which resulted Cyberman explode. Half the shop burst in flames. Few glasses shattered and fire alarms set off. Lee quickly got back into the black van and the fire engine pulled over at the shopping centre on fire. Callie asked, "Why did that Cyberman walk back in?" Lee replied, "Because that one damaged Cyberman needed to stay hidden until there's more. That Cyberman was supposedly to get back into the Doctor Who world, but it managed to stay behind, while the rest of them were back in Doctor Who franchise. But now that cyber conversion is destroyed, we should be good." The black van drives on in Blyth.